Hey guys, welcome back to the SADGA podcast. We've got a fantastic episode for you tonight. Obviously, Thursday marks the end of our National Disability Awareness Month, and it's fantastic tonight to have a conversation with two legends in the South African disabled golf world, Iglin Grobbelaar and Reinard Schuhknecht. I'm never going to pronounce your name 100% right. Apologies, Rhino, but how are you guys doing tonight?
Yeah, very lekker. Thanks for having us, Craig. This is awesome.
Yeah, sure, dude. Appreciate the time. So what have you guys missed about not being able to play in the Disabled Open this year? It must have been quite disappointing not to have played at all, hey?
I'll go first in saying that it was probably to an extent I was a little bit fortunate because I had struggled with a little bit of a back injury,
Okay.
and and it was going to be touch and go whether I could actually go and play in the event in any case.
Oh, right.
Um, so maybe a little bit fortunate in that in to not have played it, but I was looking forward to it because at one point there were talks that it was maybe going to be postponed to a little bit later in the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, it's always nice to see some of your mates and play some competitive golf. Obviously, it's different when you don't put in the time to practice and you go up against the boys of outside our borders with Mike Brown and old Williams and the rest of the boys. It's always
Yeah.
tough.
Rhino, why do you think it is that the internationals have been so dominant in the last couple of years?
I don't know. I think our South African guys are putting too much pressure on ourselves when we arrive there at the tournament. Iglin has lifted the trophy before. He knows that feeling. But yeah, I would say the last couple of years it wasn't our luck to be lifting the trophy every year. The trophy goes away. But hopefully next year when it's in Durban, we can hopefully keep the trophy in South Africa.
Do you guys know Mount Edgecombe at all? Like, have you played it a bit? And what can you tell us about the course? Well, firstly, it's the Woods. I think it's number 2 that the tournament's going to be played on. Do you guys know it at all?
Yeah, I mean, Rhino, I know he was at Sandlermere not too long ago. I don't know if he made his way out to Mount Edgecombe. I played there years ago.
Okay.
I must say I've always enjoyed the South Coast courses, all those Durban courses. It suits my game. It's a little bit straighter. You've got to hit the ball straight.
Yeah.
Courses are narrow, lots of trees lining fairways. The greens are tiny, so you've got to make sure that your short game is sharp. You've got to hit the greens. And yeah, so it's a proper challenge. The other thing is it's not the longest of courses. And me not being the longest of hitters, Rhino can probably just take out his 4-iron or 5-iron off the tee and he'll be with my drive in any case. So yeah, it's about playing it clever. I've always enjoyed those courses. I don't know Mount Edgecombe that well. Like I said, I played there years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because there's so many different ways. I mean, there's that old cliche of like there are many ways to what's the word, skin a cat or whatever. But what have you guys found has sort of stood you in good stead as you've played in the Opens over the years? Rhino, let's start with you. I mean, what have you found has sort of helped you to the solid finishes that you've had?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of practice to be consistent in any tournaments, and you just hope you get a couple of good rounds in. Every year I struggle on the first day, and that always put me a couple of shots behind all the guys. And yeah, it's just to have a good start. And yeah, every year that I've played, I've learned a lesson or two while playing. So yeah, hopefully one stage everything can come together for me.
Do you think you maybe think about it too much in the lead up, especially sort of as the years go by?
for sure. You're trying to put a safe score in the first round and don't take silly shots on the golf course, and sometimes that costs you a lot of shots. And I would say from the second day and third day on, you start to enjoy the game more, and a little bit more pressure is off you, and then you can actually play better golf as well.
Yeah, so in some ways it sounds like you're slightly more comfortable sort of chasing rather than, starting well and then sort of having to continue that sort of trend. And Iglin, I mean, you've won it twice. What was there any sort of trend that you noticed between those two victories? And obviously, well, not obviously, but you finished third in 06 and runner up in 07 and 08 as well. So you clearly have figured out a way of, or a formula for being pretty consistent at the event. What has that been for you over the years?
I think those two wins, it's been so many years. I need to look at the photos to acknowledge that it actually happened. It's something that I think composure is probably key element to closing it off. You've got to stay mentally strong, stick to your guns, and I think over the years, the less I got to practice due to whatever commitments there were, whether it be work, family, or moving, or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
When you practice less, the stage only gets bigger, unfortunately, and fortunately, because we get to compete with some of the world's best. And when you think about your practice and lead up to the event, and you look at the comparisons of how much us as South Africans practice leading up to these events to the Mike Browns and the Juan Postigo and Manuel de los Santos and Josh Williams, and I mean those guys play golf effectively for a living. So you go up against real beasts within the game, and look, we are fiercely competitive. So we step out onto that tee box and we say it's fair game. But in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, especially I think as a coach as well, that try and elevate players to peak at the right times, and you know what it's all about. And when you as a player step out onto the first tee in a 3-round battle, you know that it's going to be tough if your prep work has not been done properly.
But I suppose the converse is also true. I mean, if you maybe haven't practiced as hard as the other guys, you maybe slightly, I mean, you're definitely fresher physically, but potentially also mentally as well. Because if maybe in the days leading up to the first round, if you've like found a couple of holes in your game, and you start thinking about that could also, I'm sure, work against you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Overthinking this game is our number one go-to. Look, it's also easy when you're not swinging well, or your game is struggling a little bit. You stand on the range and you can practice the wrong things all day long, and you just get frustrated with yourself. Like you say, if you step out there and lower your expectations, I think it's a balancing act. We would probably do a lot better if we were to step out onto that tee box with lowered expectations. And just take the game as it comes. And we all have a relatively okay swing in our bodies. And if you just go around and enjoy the course, enjoy the setting, challenge yourself, not be too hard on yourself to try and shoot under par, you'd probably surprise yourself and shoot a decent score without having to try too hard.
Yeah. Which, I mean, of the courses that you guys have played, which have you sort of enjoyed the most? Reinard, let's start again with you, dude. Which layouts have you found have suited your game, and why do you think that is the case?
I would say definitely Sabula.
Okay.
It's a very fun one to be at, and I would say it's also nice if everyone can stay on the same basically resort. And after the game, it's not just about golf; it's camaraderie as well. So after the game, everyone goes to one villa or so and have a nice braai. And
Yeah.
we're actually one big happy family, a bunch of cripples together. So, but yeah, the layout is amazing. I love the scenery just on that golf course is just amazing. And
Yeah.
it's a nice long golf course, so you need to hit a couple of bombers down there to be able to score on a couple of holes there. But otherwise, yeah, I would say Sebula was definitely a highlight for me.
And are they? I mean, what are your finishes in those events? Do you remember offhand?
Not too well. I can't remember exactly the positions, but
Okay.
yeah, it was just very fun being there.
But it's interesting. You touch on the whole like vibe and the atmosphere of the week. What are there any particular stories you guys can share of events after the rounds of golf? Maybe a particularly eventful evening. Maybe anything you can share with us.
Iglin, you can go first.
Look, we won't talk about our trips to Sweden, so because then we'll be all evening. Yeah, it's always great to think back about the after golf shenanigans, and I mean I remember Ben van Sale, he would always entertain us with a story or two, and it was I mean we all miss him dearly. And I mean, between Trevor and Eugene, and there's quite a few of the boys that try to stay in the bar the longest. And, I think Reinard and I were never shy to try and stay there with them. But yeah, Langebaan was probably one of the more severe after golf vlakvarkgat. I don't know if Reinard... I see a wry smile there. I think he knows what the vlakvarkgat is all about. But yeah, look, it's great camaraderie. We've always gotten along with every single person at Disabled Golf, and it's amazing how close you get from just sharing a limitation physically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, whether it was sitting around a halfway house table after 9 holes, or whether it was a full-on dinner afterwards, there's always special memories in all of those.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy to think like everyone has got such a unique sort of story to tell, but as you say, there are those commonalities, and it creates a bond that you can't find with people who haven't really had those particular adversities in their life. And I mean, it's very, very special. But I mean, obviously we joke about, or Rhino was joking earlier about us being cripples, but there is some really high quality golf played as well. What do you think is the difference between someone who finishes maybe 10th or 15th overall versus the guys that are top, like in the top 3 or top 5 at an event? I mean, where do you think that difference lies?
Rhino or me?
Oh, sorry, I should have maybe said that. Rhino, go for it, Bruce. Sorry, should have.
No, I think with every disability, there's your challenges. So I won't go fairly on top 10 overall, and the guy who finished 15th or 2nd. It depends on your disability as well. And
sure.
Through that, I would say like you can be 15th overall, but he can still win his division. And through that, he's already a champ in everyone's eyes. So, and just be out there and playing golf, he's shown most of the world wrong just by doing that. So it gives me goosebumps. But yeah, everyone that just pitches up and plays is already a winner in life.
Yeah, no, it is. It is very, very special, and it's weird how, without trying to get sidetracked, it's amazing how people, especially able-bodied people, they seem to have not a deeper appreciation, but they seem to be more impressed by like what we consider sort of run-of-the-mill sort of things, where we just sort of get on with life. I mean, I actually went on a golf tour with a couple of mates at the weekend, and a few of them were saying, "Oh, you're so inspirational! You're so inspirational!" And I said, "Well, I'm one of the higher handicaps within SADGA. Like, I'm not even a good player. You have guys who, I mean, I actually referenced Reinard and said, listen, you've got a dude there who's won 4 World One-Arm Championships and can outdrive you every single hole throughout a round. But it's not about that. It's literally, as it says on the website, and as we always say, it's about being a golfer. It's not about the disability at all, really, which is quite sort of special. It's a very, very cool sort of philosophy that the association has. But Iglin, like, where do you think the difference lies? I mean, sure, if you want to compare sort of apples with apples, I mean, if you compare so two sort of people with CP or some variation of that, where do you think the difference would lie between a sort of like a really, really, like, I don't know, like single digit player versus, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 handicapper?
I think a big part is, as Reinard mentioned, the different limitations and the extent of the limitations
Sure.
definitely have an effect. I mean, very few people know that every time I make a swing, I swing with pain. More often than not, I take 2 cat flams before I go and play, just to sort of bear through it. So there's a lot of different aspects from a physical limitation point of view that plays in on what your golfing ability is. When it just comes down to making the score, let's say if you had, like you say, apple with apple, I would say that guys tend to work on the wrong stuff potentially when they're practicing. Maybe they need to look at it a little bit more from a mental aspect, just to, like I mentioned earlier, composure. More often than not, you can string four good holes together, but if you're not composed, you could very easily triple the next 3, and then all that hard work is down to nothing. So limiting the disasters on the course is where you gain confidence, and then you see different scoring opportunities. So I mean, at one stage, just before Dustin Johnson became world number 1, he spent 80% of his day just working on 120 yard and less shots. I mean, he wasn't standing out there bashing the ball 300 meters for 5 hours of the day. He was working on the larger percentage of what the game is about. And I think that's where a lot of guys would see a huge improvement in their games, score-wise and handicap-wise, if they were to just focus on doing the right stuff at the part of their game where you're going to be spending the most time.
Yeah. And, I mean, let me just regather my thoughts for a second. But you mentioned the whole nerves aspect and coping with those. What is the most nervous, and we can start with you and then go to Rhino, but what's the most nervous you've been in at a disabled open? Is there any particular opening tee shot that stands out as one that you found sort of quite daunting or anything like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say opening tee shots.
Okay.
Obviously, when I was at Rand Park, with both the first and the second one, where I ended up on the putting green having a putt for the win, the lead up to the first tournament that I won at Rand Park, I remember I had about a 90-meter uphill sandwich that I ended up hitting. And at that point, when I saw the little grandstand behind the green and people watching, and it was obviously down to the wire, we had 4 guys that were all within 1 shot. I think that was probably the most nerve-wracking shot that I had to hit, and it ended up pitching just short of the pin, went past, spun back, and I had a nice little uphill right to left putt for the win.
What
and
a pleasure.
You would almost think that the putt had the most nerves, but that approach shot had a lot more nerves to it than the putt. In fact, I stood behind the putt and I looked at the line and I said, Iglin, you've got this. It's already in the hole. Why are you even still trying to read the putt? And I stepped up, and the minute that I hit the putt, I knew it was going to go in. So yeah, that was pretty special.
And Reinard, anything that stands out for you?
I would say definitely Schuhknecht, the 17th and 18th hole.
Okay.
I was 1 behind Daniel Slabbert going into the last 2 holes, and Schuhknecht's 17th hole wasn't playing very long, but it's a par 3 with basically an island green, so you can't miss it. And the pin was stuck on the right, and I had a nice shot in there just to get it on the green. Was about 6 feet away from the pin, and unfortunately missed my birdie. We both make par, and then the 18th tee shot is you want to crack it up there. It's a par 5. To get there in 2, but OB running on the right, and then a lot of big trees on your left. So I would say those 2 shots was quite nerve-wracking for me.
And how much golf have you guys played together at the tournament? Can you recall any rounds together? Either of you?
I'm trying to think. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
I'm pretty sure that we've definitely played quite a few together. I don't think I don't recall ever playing a final round together though.
No.
I actually don't think that we've played a final round together, but we've definitely played within the 3 rounds. We've definitely played together before.
Oh, okay.
But nothing stood out. I never tried to reach one of his drives with one of my own. Yeah,
we
so
did play a game together, Iglin, in finals at Langebaan.
Oh, okay.
you're right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, take us there for a second. What happened there?
Oh, do we need to?
He had a proper shank on 17.
Yeah, no,
I remember that.
I
That's
was.
why I can remember we played together.
Yeah, no, I was 2 shots in the lead, going on to 17, and yeah, a bit of a boo boo on 17, and there was a 3-shot swing, and thinking about it afterwards, I still had all to play for on the 18th, and I remember Daniel, obviously on that par 5, 18th at Langebaan, Daniel hit a humongous drive. If I was his caddy, I would never have opted for him to take on that shot, being one shot ahead. He went way over the water. He had a 7-iron in. I hit a 3-wood off the tee, just short of the water, and I hit another 3-wood because I knew that Daniel was going to go at the green for 2, and I ended up about 30 meters short of the green in the first cut of rough. And he hit it to the heart of the green, and I basically told myself I've got to try and chip this in, and it ran probably about a foot left of the hole, but
Sure.
went on to run about 5 meters past, and Daniel ended up 3-putting. Daniel ended up 3-putting for a par from the middle of the green. So if I had played a little bit more conservative, especially on my 3rd shot, my approach shot, and tried to secure the birdie, we could have gone down into a playoff, and then it's all to play for. So regardless of the shank is something that haunts me at night, but I think the 18th hole, how that enveloped at the end of the day, that's what probably cost me the tournament.
Oh, really? Shit, that's quite. Yeah, it's those small margins that make such a difference. It's weird, and then as you say, I mean, that still has stuck with you for quite a while. But Ryan, are there any shots that you sort of look back on and think, oh, I wish I could have that over?
About 50 shots at Langebaan, yes. There's a lot of out of bounds.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's just out of bounds there everywhere, and I'm not one of the straightest hitters, so that course didn't suit me that great. But I got a third place, and at that stage it was my best finish so far. So I think if I kept the ball a little bit more in play, it would have helped a lot. But yeah, every tournament you've got shots that you wish you could replay it, but unfortunately you can't, and you need to live on with it.
Yeah.
As I said to Iglin about his mishap on 17, I had it twice on Sabula on the 18th hole, so I know his pain. But yeah, you learn from that, and hopefully in the next tournament you won't make the same mistakes again.
So obviously, yeah, I mean, you are renowned for your length, but how do you when you play a course like I mean, Machari's was the most recent example. How do you sort of play like 1 or 2 practice rounds prior and really sort of figure out where you can get away with just hitting like mid to long irons off the tee, or how much sort of planning goes into it beforehand? Reinard, sorry, just to make that clear.
I like to play 1 practice round and then spend a day just around the greens and see where's key positions to be. Sometimes it's a lot better to be long, then you miss all the trouble. Sometimes it's better to be short to stay away from all the trouble. So just to go around and have a look where to hit a long iron or mid iron or a driver. It helps a lot. And like when we played Machali's, there was basically 2 holes where I hit driver, and both of them was par 5s. The rest of the holes I would just use a 4 iron or 4 to a 6 iron.
Okay, and yourself, Iglin, I mean, what does your pre-tournament preparation look like? Do you have like any sort of set formula or anything?
So I must say, I like to do a little bit of research regarding the layout of the course. Often you find some pro tip stuff on whether it's on the websites or just read-ups. I like to try and play the course in my mind before I even step out onto the course.
Okay.
And when you're out for a practice round, I like looking at the greens and what potential pin positions they could come up with, and then you look at safe areas. So when you're approaching the green, where do you not want to be, and make a little note of that. If you're going to miss it, where do you want to miss it? So not so much in the practice round itself. The practice round is, for me, is more a feel of where the game is at, just get a feel for the course, but more so analyzing what not to do, and if you're going to miss it on the right sides, and that's basically the notes that I take again to my pre-round prep in knowing what I'm wanting to do, and then play it safe. You don't want to take unnecessary risks, because that's when it gets costly.
Yeah. And out of interest, I mean, how much conversation is there and how much banter is there on the course in the heat of tournament play? I mean, do you guys chat much to your playing partners, especially sort of in the sort of later stages of the tournament, or do you just prefer to keep to yourself? Reinard, let's start with you, bro.
would be very chatty in the beginning, and then as you proceed closer to the clubhouse, I get a little bit more silent and focused. But I still like to, when I walk to my ball and I get close, I would start to think, okay, what's going to go on now? And after the shot, I'll be chatting with all my caddy or with my playing partners. And yeah, at the end of the day, you're still out there to enjoy yourself. And that's how I break the next shot off, is by chatting to someone and look around and see the scenery. And then when you approach your ball again, you can focus again.
So have you played with anyone where you actually hitting your approach before them, i.e. because they've outdriven you? I mean, how often does that happen?
Not often, but yeah. When Daniel was still playing, he could hit a long ball as well. And Josh Williams hits a long one as well. Then Brown, he can smash a ball as well. So yeah, if I need to hit the tee shot first, I'll be a little bit more quiet because I don't like to hit first. But yeah, we'll still chat.
And Iglin, yourself, I mean, you strike me as a super chatty type of oak, so I presume there's a lot of banter that goes on in any group you're part of.
I must say, when it comes to the golf course, like you mentioned, latter stages of the tournament, I think you go into a zone where, you know, now we playing golf, and you want to give your competitors the choice of whether it's going to be a chatty, bantering round or not. I mean, if you look at the pros, like Reinard says, the in between, while you're walking to your ball after tee shots, you chat away. It's not jokes about what we're going to do after the round. It's all game related. And once you near your ball, I mean, 20 meters in, the talking stops, and that's also how I would prefer it. You know, it's Dale Hayes used to say that the game is difficult enough. You don't have to make it difficult by trying to sidetrack your opponents in talking about nonsense, or disrupting their games by talking about a bad swing, or whatever the case might be. So I like exactly that, what Reinard said, as you approach your ball, there's a line you step over, and then it's game time. It's focus, and then it's all about the shot at hand.
Yeah. And when the draw comes out for the first round, are there any is there anyone that you Iglin, sort of particularly look forward to playing with?
I must say I've always enjoyed playing with guys that are really contending. Obviously, there's the internationals. It's always nice to go out with Mike and Josh, just because they're good oaks as well, and they have a proper tour golf mentality, where they like the focus, they like the fact that you are here to compete, and it gets you in that frame of mind where, you know, you are there to compete, and you're there as a golfer wanting to play on a big stage, and it brings out the best in you when you're playing with the best in the world. It's good to go out with guys that play consistent, solid golf, and you, I mean, you applaud when the guy hits a good shot. He does the same when you hit a good shot. I enjoy playing with the guys that are really there for serious business.
And I presume, Rano, you're probably the same.
Yeah, same as Iglin, and yeah, Mike Brown, Josh Williams, playing with Iglin, it's always fun. Yeah, like you said, we motivate each other on the golf course as well by just being positive the whole time. And you, even if you've got a bad round, you don't need to make it bad for everyone in your 3 ball. So it's always nice if everyone's it's got a good day and motivate each other just to be better.
So, I mean, you must have a few funny stories of or over the years. I mean, are there any stories of guys sort of accidentally maybe tossing a club and then the shaft snapping, or any funny anecdote from any rounds at the Open that you guys can remember?
My only thing that I can think of right now, I'm pretty sure there'll be millions, but it's always when you try and think of them, it never
You
comes to
can't.
mind. But
You can't. Yeah.
the only one that I can recall right now is when we played Ehrenvale, the one year where our second day actually got postponed. Well, not postponed, cancelled, because of the inclement weather. We had severe wind and rain, and I remember some of the guys went out to play like a little practice round, and I can't remember. It was that stroke 2, Reinard. Maybe you'll be able to tell me which hole it was. But the stroke 2, quite a big bunker at the back of the green, and some of the guys were standing on the back of the green while they're reading their putt. And next minute, this massive wind gust came through, and it actually blew 2 of the guys off the green into the bunker, and they were rolling down the bunker edge. And when they eventually stopped rolling, they started laughing. Well, thank goodness. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to tell this story smiling from ear to ear. But yeah, so that was pretty funny. I mean, as bad as the weather was, at least it brought forth a little bit of humor.
Yeah. Jeepers, that's quality. And Rhino, anything that stands out for you?
Yeah, like Iglin said, if you try to think of anything now, it's just blank.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to get back to Ehrenvale, yeah, the wind that year was hectic. My mom actually was like my caddy, and she got pulled behind the umbrella from a gust wind. And actually, there was a little stand with cooler boxes and everything. And I think the cooler boxes and my mom's umbrella is still traveling somewhere close to Australia now.
That's so hectic. And what advice would you give to guys that are just starting out? I mean, obviously you guys started quite young. I mean, I think Iglin, you won your first one when you were, what, by my calculations, like 21 or 20 or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's so many years ago.
Yeah. What advice would you give to guys, or girls as well, making their debut in the event? I mean, anything that you would suggest, sort of like keep their nerves and stuff in check?
Yeah, I think the main thing when you're starting out now, I was very competitive from a young age in all the sporting disciplines. So to me, to some extent, it came quite natural to have a competitive mindset when approaching any of the sports. I think for someone starting out that's entering events, you've got to have fun. You've got to enjoy what you do. Yes, we all have a competitive edge, whether it's 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. We want to, even if it's just competing against ourselves, but set yourself realistic targets.
Yeah.
And if you can't think of targets or goals, get someone, whether it be a PGA professional or just a fellow golfer that's been around for a while, just to help you set realistic goals, and work on things within your game that will allow you to achieve those, and then reflect. Whether you have a disastrous first round or entire event, reflect and take some positives out of it, because the next time that you step out onto the tee box, you'll have a better way of going about it. But I think key thing is enjoy it. I mean, within disabled golf itself, we are all very fortunate for whatever we went through to be part of disabled golf. At the end of the day, we are very fortunate to be able to be on the golf course, and as long as we can have that in the back of our minds, we should be a little bit more appreciative of the ability that we have. And then that in itself, like Reinard said, you are a champion already. So why can't you then just enjoy yourself? And
Yeah,
that's a goal
exactly.
achieved already. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very, very profound. Jeepers. And I think, yeah, I mean, Rhino, you can also attest to the fact that there's so much fun to be had at these events. Like, it doesn't really, I mean, sure, the result is, at the time, it seems important, but then, like, a couple of days later, your lasting memories are the banter with your friends and the fun you had with your friends rather than the result itself.
Yeah, you go there with expectations to do well. I don't think there's one guy rocking up there that wants to come last. So that's always in your back of your head as well. But yeah, just to be there and play your best golf you can on that day, and just take all the memories with you, because nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, no, for sure. And who do you guys think, well, I mean, you'll probably say yourselves, but who do you think is going to be the person that'll finally end South Africa's drought at the tournament? Iglin, you can start, bro.
Wow. There's a few guys that have stuck their hands up. I mean, Ignatian Darius is probably one of the guys that works the hardest at his game. And he's come leaps and bounds. I mean, I remember when he was still the really little guy running around, just wanting to smack the ball, and now he's I think he's a 4 or a 5 handicap, if not lower. I mean, he's shown some serious potential. He's really consistent. Then you've got the likes of Trevor Reich. I mean, Trevor went under par the other day. The old man still got it in him. And so, again, a course like Mount Edgecombe would suit Trevor very well, if he can sort his putting out, which I think he has. He's a really strong contender. You can never write Rhino off. I haven't seen any scores that he's entered recently, so I don't know how much golf he's playing. I need to give myself a real chance on the range and get my game to a point where I'm confident in it. I've got to stay away from injuries. I've got to protect my left elbow, my left shoulder. I've got to make sure that my back is okay. So I can't play too much golf beforehand either, because then I sort of line myself up for potential disaster when a back spasm hits in after the second round. Or so I've just got to watch myself physically, and then I'd probably put myself out there to compete. It is obviously difficult to have a serious go at the international boys without proper preparation. But look, there's definitely, I think the South Africans are starting to bundle together, and there's a real fight for being that top South African. I mean, yeah, there's literally probably about 15 to 20 guys that I think have serious competing forces.
Jeez, and it's quite cool when you think about the depth of talent that we do have, because I mean, yeah, it must be, you guys must have seen quite a transformation as the years have gone on, and the depth has definitely increased, I'm sure. I mean, Rhino, I mean, when did you start? You started 2006 or 2007, eh?
My first game was in 2007, yes.
Yeah. And how has your experience of the Open changed between, geez, what would you have been there? You must have been quite a lighty compared to now. I mean, have you found that you've enjoyed the tournament experience more as the years have gone by, or do you sort of look back and you think, oh yeah, I actually preferred the days when I was like a lighty 19, 20 and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I would say every year it's just an improvement. Lily and her team just does an amazing job on hosting the South African Open. It's every year it's a blessing to be there.
Mm.
And yeah, the only difference is when I was 15, when I started playing my first Open, I wasn't sore after 3 days. Now I can feel it. I'm getting old now. Yeah, but it's every year there's just new and better highlights when you walk away there.
Yeah. So to finish off, you guys are going to nominate your finishes at next year's Open, and then we're going to revisit it in March next year and see how close you guys came and who perhaps set themselves too lofty a target and who was actually quite realistic. So, Iglin, we're going to start with you. So, where are you going to finish? We're going to go by category first. So we're going to go in your particular category, which I think is Les Autres, eh? Les Autres, whatever. Yeah.
Mm.
So where are you going to finish? Where are you going to finish there, and then where are you going to finish overall?
Well, I'm busy working on my handicap, getting it out a bit. So I reckon I'll take the trophy back in Les Autres. That's my first call.
Okay.
Because obviously that's based on handicap. I think gross Les Autres. I think I'll take that as well. I'm going to set myself some
brimming with confidence, in spite of not having played.
For the guy that hasn't played in 3 months, I'm setting some serious targets here. When is the Open? In April,
I think it's March.
Oh crap!
You're running out of time.
Yeah, the clock's ticking, bro.
I'll need to get at it, I suppose. And then are we talking overall or South Africa?
Yeah. We can go South African, and then we can go overall. We can cover all our bases.
I'm not going to count my chickens before they even start developing. So I'll say top 3 South Africans.
Okay.
Is that fair?
And yeah, that's pretty fair. And then where do you think that'll translate into the overall standings? Probably a top 10, hey?
Yeah, I would say I would look. I've always said that I wouldn't want to represent within the tournament if I wasn't competing for top honors. It's just my nature that when I enter an event, I want to compete with the best of the best there. So as long as I can give a run for the money for any of the internationals coming, if I can give Reinard a bit of a challenge in chasing me down, because I know he likes to chase more than the lead, then then I'm happy, and then it's a job well done. If I can go out and not make silly mistakes and put three decent scores together, then it's almost irrelevant where I finish. However, if I can really get my mind to and time to practice and put the effort in and feel confident in the game when I step out onto the first tee box or the first round, I would like to believe that I can beat anyone at that event. And I think that's the mindset that you've got to take into it if you are
100%.
thinking of competing. You've got to believe that you can win.
Yeah, definitely. And Reinard, let's go to you, bro. Where are you going to finish in the arm amputee category? Must be thinking about taking the title.
Yeah, for sure. Always when I rock up there, like Iglin said, you play to be the best. So no, I'll definitely go to win the one arm or the arm amputee division. I heard Chris Wood played a couple of rounds in Namibia a couple of weeks ago, and he's been playing good golf. So it's always a good match between me and Chris Wood. There's also a lot of first wing program kids coming up, and I check their scores as well. They're starting to play well. So yeah, I think the competition is getting tougher. And then yeah, for top South African, it's going to be a battle between me and Iglin. I hope so. And yeah, it will be nice to finish top South African again. Then overall, yeah, I hope it's not a runaway for the leader. I hope everyone is close, and it must just be a very good finish and the best man win.
Yeah, well, you've certainly come a long way since our esteemed executive director was your alleged babysitter. Do you remember that at all? I mean, so you would have been what, 15, eh? And I mean, he doesn't look a day over 40 even now. So there must have been. I don't know what his secret is, but he's aged super well. I'm playing with him tomorrow, so I'm just trying to sort of lay the foundation for a couple of given 3-footers and maybe even 4-footers if I'm lucky enough. But yeah, I mean, it must be pretty cool to, for both of you guys to sort of look back and think back on all of the sort of friendships and stuff that you have forged with all the guys over the years. I mean, and I suppose COVID has probably given you a deeper appreciation for, how much you do value those friendships and relationships, because, obviously pretty much no competitive golf this year. So, I mean, you guys must be super excited for next year, hey?
Oh, absolutely. And it's such a, sorry, Reinard, it's such a lack of venue. I mean, we haven't gone to the Durban coast before. Not that I can recall in any case. And so it's going to be nice to make our way out to that side of the country, and the camaraderie stays the same. I think the minute that 2020 has been rough for everybody, but then in the same breath, it's gone by so quickly that I mean, I just thought that the tournament was another 4.5-5 months away, and it's actually around the corner. So look, it's going to be awesome to see everybody and playing competitive golf. Talking about COVID, hopefully we can remove our masks every now and then. Yeah. But yeah, look, it's going to be awesome, and there's always, like you say, there's always banter with the boys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And Reinard, I mean, what are your, like, who are you most looking forward to seeing, like, of your mates that you perhaps haven't, or you missed out on seeing this year? Who are you most looking forward to seeing?
I always enjoy traveling with Iglin, and especially now that he's in Cape and I'm in Gauteng, we don't see each other that much anymore. It's always nice catching up with him, and sad we missed this year, but yeah, there's a lot of traveling coming up next year, so it'll be awesome seeing basically everyone there. Lily and Trevor, it's you can't just take one guy out of it. It's everyone. It's nice to see everyone.
No, that's epic. Well, guys, you've been super generous with your time, and hopefully we'll do something again closer to the Open. But yeah, for now, start practicing, and the tournament is actually in March, not April, Iglin. So bear that in mind. Running out of time, bro. But yeah, best of luck going forward, and we'll definitely catch up soon. Shot for the time.
Thanks very much, Craig. Appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Reinard. Cheers, bye.
Bye.